Good morning, family. Did you see that beautiful sunrise coming up? Whew. So things are changing kind of all over the place. Want to point some things out to you, but first and foremost want to tell you that Sunday morning we're supposed to be in the 50s. That is quite early, my friends. We normally don't hit the 50s here in North Texas until around September 20th, 21st, and sometimes even later than that. So I am looking so forward to the cool temps coming, because it's really going to help our fall crops kick off. So first, let me show you how everything's doing that I planted just about 4 or 5 days ago. My Contari bush beans are already coming up. So we had some rain a couple of days. It was cloudy, guys. It really helped get these things to sprout. So I'm gonna have to get in here and kind of go in here, because this is, I'm not sure what that is. It might be morning glories, which we really don't want, because morning glories just take off here where I really don't want them. When I've tried to plant them along the fence line, they didn't grow, but boy, they sure grow in my gardens. But look, you can see I've got some voluntary deal coming up. Here's more volunteer deal. Really excited about that. Let's see if my cilantro is coming up. I think that it probably is. Some of this, yeah. Here's my volunteer cilantro. This is not volunteer cilantro. So I'm gonna have to watch this. I don't want it to get overtaken with whatever else is trying to come up in there, but I am so excited about these bush beans. So I planted my onions at the same time I did those bush beans in this little high tunnel. We've been keeping them damp. Again, that cloudy weather has really benefited. Let me show you. They are starting to sprout. So we're gonna have to continue to keep these damp and wet. And hopefully, guys, I'm gonna have probably, if I planted about 1,000 seeds, and if just half of them come up, that'd be 500 onions that I'll be popping in the ground once they get big enough and the sets get big enough to get in the ground. So they are looking really good. The herbs have gotten their second wind, guys. Many of them have gone in and reseeded themselves and come up. So your herbs are a great fall crop as well. So I got to come in here. I'm gonna cut some of them back, but you can see they are really loving these cooler temps. This is one of my front raised beds, and you can see my basils have reseeded themselves. It's come from this plant right here. I can harvest some of these seeds, but yeah, we're gonna have some good basil coming up in these cooler temps. And then over here are our paprika peppers. They are doing fantastic. Greg made a batch last week. Looks like we'll be making another batch this week. Cooler temps are gonna help us with that freeze dryer. Oh man, so let's see if any of my, yeah, looky here. These are my mustard greens that I planted, and they are coming up as well. So gonna have some good mustard greens, and like I told you in the last video, those will come up, and they are pretty hardy when it comes to a light freeze. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Those are pretty hardy when it comes to a light freeze. And so whenever these peppers die back, my mustard greens will come in behind it. And then this is my marshmallow. I did go ahead and harvest a bunch of seeds. And what we'll do with this marshmallow is right before our first freeze, we will cut it down to the ground and let the roots go, and it will come back next year. And then we have some wonderful holy basil in here. This stuff just smells so good, and this reseeded itself as well. So we're letting the okra go to seed out here. Need to come out here and cut these off and start harvesting. And we still have some sweet taters coming in. Oh man, my goodness. Ooh wee. So Pop's getting ready to mow. Things are starting to grow a little bit from all that rain, and many of you know that we put his tiny house back here after my mother passed away, and he's been out here I think 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years. And we're so thankful that we had the land to do this, to put him a tiny house out here, because let me tell you something. Greg went to contest our property taxes because they are trying to oh, what's the word I'm trying to use? They are trying to exploit is a word for us. And for those of you here in Texas, you want to be sure and vote this year, because I think there is something on the ballot about getting rid of property taxes and then doing a sales tax or some other tax to make up for that. And we totally agree with that, because if you own your home and you don't pay your taxes, they can come get it. That really sucks, doesn't it? But we are so blessed that we bought this land so long ago and got it at such a good deal, because acreage out here, guys, is going close to $100,000 an acre, where when we bought our property, it was $15,000 an acre. And let me show you something else. See that over there? So that's our neighbors. Their house actually is back here, and look what they're doing. So they have, I think, 5 acres over here. They started out with 2, and then they bought 3 more on the other side. But look what they're doing. They're putting another house on the 2 acres, and I believe that's where his son is going to be living, because guess what? You cannot get decent land, a decent price on land out here, and people are not able to afford brick and mortar homes anymore. A brick and mortar home, if you find one less than $2,000 a month to rent, you're very fortunate. And if you find a house less than $200,000, probably even more in our area, anywhere here in our area, you're getting a steal. But it's probably not in a good side of town, because most homes now are close to $400,000. We have some homes on our street up there that were built probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and they are brick and mortar. There was nothing out here when we moved out here, especially that way north of us. And those homes, I think they were built for probably around $300,000, and now they are selling for close to $500,000. Many of them are just on 1 acre of land. So to the south of us, that home up on the corner sold probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and I used to have a single wide on it, and then the man who owned that went ahead and built a brick and mortar, and then he turned around and sold it, and he's the one that owned all this land over here. At one time, this was selling for $15,000 an acre, and there were 17 acres over there. And I think the couple that bought this not too long ago paid over $300,000 for it, and I believe it was only 13 acres. So they probably really got a good deal, but they paid a lot of money for it. But up this way, where that man had the single wide and then built his house on it, sold it, and there's 2 houses now on there, and guess what? They've put a mobile home right next to it, a single wide, and they redid it, and now they've put a double wide next to that one. So families are having to come back to living together. Because people are not able to get a home on their own. They're not able to buy land on their own. And if you are, again, you're very blessed and you're very fortunate, but it's few and far between where people are able to go out and start on their own and put a house on some property. You have to have loads of money, and you certainly have to be making some good money at your job, and that breeze feels so good. And then up this way, there is another mobile home, and he has put 2 tiny homes on his property, and I'm assuming, I know one is his mother. She's been out there a long time, and probably the one next door to that, which is about, they're even smaller than Pop's house, I think is his brother, because there's a plumbing truck that sits out there. So because we were able to get our land so long ago and get it at decent prices, families are having to come together and start having to build together and put either tiny homes or mobile homes, because you hardly can't even afford to even build a house or even buy a brick and mortar. So a couple of weeks ago, we had to get a new roof. You know that we all got hit, especially this year. At the beginning of this year, we had 3 storms. 2 of them were in excess of 85-mile-an-hour winds, and 1 of them we clocked at 104-mile-an-hour winds, and it started tearing the shingles off. Now, our roof, granted, was over 15 years old, but we had to get a new roof, and my gosh, I was astounded. I was astounded at how much it cost. Let's just say it was close to a $10,000 drop. And so we know now that our house insurance is probably going to go, our homeowners is probably going to go up, and our property taxes. So with homeowners and property taxes, even if your home is paid for, you're looking at probably at least $300 a month to prepare for these big expenses that come at the end of the year, or if you pay every 3 months, or if you pay monthly, or if you pay every 6 months. These are huge expenses, especially if you're nearing retirement. $300 a month with somebody that's on Social Security to just pay your property taxes and to pay your insurance, and I'm praying that the Lord doesn't let it go up right now, but imagine that. That is, even if your home is paid for, you have to try to come up with $300, maybe $400 a month just to pay those things. So we are seeing so much more of this, and more power to them to be able to take care of their families and their grandkids. But that's exactly what's happening, because people cannot afford to buy their own home, and that's the way it's going to get worse and worse here in Texas, especially, is your property taxes and your insurance, and land values are just skyrocketing. So with all that taken into consideration, it's a no-brainer. If you have a little bit of land, a little bit of space to offset our cost, we're growing. Growing our own food, and we sell our potted plants in the springtime, and we sell some of our seeds and our herbs. So we're doing everything we can to stay a little bit ahead of the game, and we're hoping that we can continue to do that. But things are changing, guys. Things are changing in so many ways. Things are changing with the weather, and I'm so excited, but things are changing with the way people are living and how we live here in the United States of America. You're starting to see families come together on land so that they can all afford it, and they can all help absorb the cost, and they can all help with your garden and your upkeep. Pop right now is mowing. Oh my gosh, if we didn't have him, I don't know what we would do, because he spends, when it's necessary, about 3 days a week mowing and weed eating this property. So we are so thankful for him, but this is what it's going to take. This is what it's going to take for us to survive as we keep going on, and I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. So if you're living in an area where your housing cost is a little more affordable, then you better praise the Lord, and you better thank him above. But I know here, my fellow Texans, I know you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. And yep, so get to growing, get to gardening, even just a little spot, guys. Get you some chickens to help with your eggs and stuff. Do everything you can to offset, like we're doing, growing and chickens and canning and preserving, to offset some of your grocery bill. Love you all. We'll be in contact this weekend, especially when I can tell you it's like 50-something degrees in the morning. So look for that video. Love you all. See you soon.